I've received a ton of questions over the past month wanting my take on hormones, so here it is. A general concept I try to show patients when considering this is we look at a graph of the death rate and illness rate as it correlates to the hormone levels. We see that the death rate, disease rate, and illness rates go up as the hormones decline. There's definitely a strong correlation between the two. Our hormones go down as we age. They also go down with stress and diseases. Now, does that prove that this is a cause and effect relationship? Not necessarily. The popular thinking today in medicine with primary care docs and gynecologists is that hormones are not good. The dogma now is to replace hormones if you have severe symptoms, and only for the shortest amount of time possible with the smallest dosage possible. This is a complete reversal of the previous dogma, when Prempro was a fast rising star lining up to be the next billion-dollar seller. The Women's Health Initiative study, the WHI, shot Prempro down. Now I and a few other physicians could have saved the drug company and the government millions of dollars and thousands of lives by predicting the results of the study before it happened, which we did, by the way. We pleaded that they put a natural or bioidentical hormone treatment arm into that study, but there was no way the drug company would allow for a safer, more effective solution to be discovered on their dime. In my view, this is criminal fraud, and it's perpetrated by the drug companies, the FDA, and the academic researchers, and it results in the death and suffering so that their profits are not jeopardized. So the WHI study blew up in their face. The man-made chemical hormone lookalikes that can be patented were proven dangerous. So doctors have now thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Now your doctor is likely to prescribe the same dangerous chemical that was found to cause a myriad of diseases, but then tells you to get off it as soon as possible. If you have a physician that doesn't like to prescribe toxic substances, then he or she will tell you, avoid hormones like the plague. But is this the correct thinking? Now, before the WHI study, there was a ton of evidence showing that hormones have a multitude of healthy effects on the body. I mean, that's why they did the study. It was to prove that this is true. And this was about as close to a slam dunk as you can get. The problem was that it's only the God-created molecules that have the benefit, not the greed-based synthetic imitation. Should we replace our declining hormones? I'll let you answer that question for yourself, but let me provide you with some more background which you can make a better decision. The benefits are based on a lot of evidence. Now, what are the symptoms of hormone decline? The typical symptoms of menopause include hot flashes, gaining weight, brain fog, mood swings, vaginal dryness, dry eyes, depression, bone loss, memory problems, and many other symptoms. Now, why would we want to replace hormones? Well, one reason is to prevent or reverse all these things I just mentioned. A common question I'm often asked is, if it's natural for hormones to decrease, then why don't we let nature take its course? I'm not totally against that. I'm not against something that's logical. If something is natural and is supposed to occur, then I'll consider it. But my belief is that if we lived in a perfect world, let's say we lived in the Garden of Eden, then we wouldn't need hormones. But we live in a world controlled by vested interests that could care less about your health. Our world is full of stress, junk food, toxic drugs, and we don't get enough exercise. Most of the time, traditional cultures eating a natural diet close to the Creator's design, there wasn't even a word in their vocabulary for menopause. Raising declining hormones to a more youthful or more healthful level is called bioidentical hormone replacement, although the FDA has recently outlawed that term. Compounding pharmacies that make these bioidentical hormones cannot use this term because it supposedly implies that these hormones are better than the man-invented poisonous versions. Menopause is when the hormone levels in women drop and menstruation stops. It can occur anywhere between the ages of 40 and 70, and the average age is about 51. The decline in hormones usually starts with progesterone. There are theories that progesterone is lower now than in the past because of stress and toxin, but there's not really absolute proof of this. Now, it would make logical sense, though, thinking that our Creator might want to alter fertility rates when conditions are not good for having a baby, like a world full of toxins and stress. I do see a lot of women with low progesterone in their 40s. The key symptom of low progesterone is anxiety, irritability, insomnia, and PMS. Now, what happens is ovulation stops. Progesterone declines, leaving your hormones out of balance. This is because the site on the ovary where the egg comes off is actually where progesterone is produced. Now, if I see a woman in her 40s who is struggling with sleeplessness and anxiety or has low bone density, I would measure the progesterone level on day 21 of her cycle. This is right after ovulation, and there should be a spike in progesterone. So if this time progesterone is low, I'd suggest taking bioidentical progesterone. If, as so often happens, you complain of perimenopausal symptoms, your doctor will place you on estrogen when your progesterone is what's really low. Then you create even more balance problems with your hormones, and your symptoms actually get worse instead of better. Now, the symptoms of low estrogen include hot flashes, vaginal dryness, shrinking breasts, wrinkling skin, and brain fog. Now, my patients have told me about brain fog countless times, so I know this is real. This means if one replaces the missing estrogen, the brain fog will go away. Rather than taking this route, doctors prescribe antidepressants. When I look at the advantages of taking estrogen, I don't see a reason to put a foreign chemical into the body that has a long list of side effects. Instead, you can take a natural compound that has been in your body your whole life, so you're simply augmenting it. The side effects are usually good, like better skin, stronger bones, better control of urination, etc., etc. Now, testosterone is considered the male hormone, but is critical to women as well. When testosterone is low, there's a loss of strength and muscle, a loss of energy and libido. Can also be a sign of low testosterone. By supplementing, you're not taking your body back to levels that it's never had before, but we try to get you back to a physiologic level that you once had. This is way safer than taking an antidepressant. Now, what if you've been taking an antidepressant for 10 years? Especially if you're combining with other drugs that your doctor prescribes. So if you're on 2 drugs, then the combination has never been studied. And we have no idea what the long-term consequences might be. Now, we also don't know the long-term consequences of testosterone supplementation, but it's got to be better than the dangerous drugs. So to me, it doesn't make any sense when they prescribe all these drugs when there's a much safer alternative. Now, there are estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone receptors in almost every tissue in the body. These hormones attach to a receptor, and this receptor gives a message to the nucleus of the cell. Then the nucleus tells the body to make a protein that catalyzes a reaction or completes a function in the cell. Every type of tissue function is affected by hormones, including nerves, skin, bones, joints, heart, brain, genitals, blood vessels, you name it. A sudden hormone loss, like what happens when ovaries are surgically removed, results in deficiency symptoms within a week. No doctor would deny that. If you cut estrogen off from a woman in her 30s, it's really bad news. The standard of care in medicine applies here. If someone has Addison's disease, where the adrenal glands don't produce cortisol, you give the patient cortisol, or the patient dies. In type 1 diabetes, it's insulin. You must give it or the patient dies. With blood loss, we give a blood transfusion, or the patient dies.